This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
This just broke. Only hours ago, last evening, the New York Times is reporting that they have in their possession about 2 decades worth of Donald Trump's long-concealed tax information. And further, there are details in here that would sink any other sitting president. We'll see how it works with Donald Trump, but I don't know how he's going to avoid utter destruction, utter legal ramifications from this. First, let me say this about the New York Times reporting. Because Donald Trump already, I was going to play clips, I waited for the news conference. He's already claiming it's fake news, just like he does with everything else that ends up being absolutely true. And Donald Trump could put an end to all of this, all of the speculation, by just releasing the tax returns. He's not doing so for a very specific reason, and that is the fact that he is guilty, that he is a liar and a grifter and a fraudster and an unpatriotic scumbag who is avoiding paying taxes for decades. And the amount that he does end up paying sometimes is comically, tragically low. Donald Trump's candidacy, let's start here. Donald Trump's candidacy in 2015 was predicated on the notion that he's very rich. Remember this moment?
Because I don't need anybody's money. It's nice. I don't need anybody's money. I'm using my own money. I'm not using the lobbyists. I'm not using donors. I don't care. I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second. And by the way, I'm not even saying that in a brag. That's the kind of mindset, that's the kind of thinking you need for this country.
His entire campaign and candidacy was based on the fact that he's very rich, that he would run the country like one of his businesses, his wildly successful businesses. And in large measure, he got unsuspecting, gullible, naive people he believes to be rubes to vote for him, because they are under the misapprehension that the government should be run like a business. And who else to run that government/business than a wildly successful, genius businessman? And now we're learning, as a matter of fact, not speculation, that that is just not true. That he is losing hundreds of millions of dollars year over year over year because of his failing businesses, because of his stupidity about running a business. Further, let me say this. Hillary Clinton, for all her faults, was right about this. Remember that moment in September of 2016? She called it. Here it is if you don't remember.
Well, I think you've just seen another example of bait and switch here. For 40 years, everyone running for president has released their tax returns. You can go and see nearly, I think, 39, 40 years of our tax returns, but everyone has done it. We know the IRS has made clear there is no prohibition on releasing it when you're under audit. So you've got to ask yourself, why won't he release his tax returns? And I think there may be a couple of reasons. First, maybe he's not as rich as he says he is. Second, maybe he's not as charitable as he claims to be. Third, we don't know all of his business dealings, but we have been told through investigative reporting that he owes about $650 million to Wall Street and foreign banks. Or maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities when he was trying to get a casino license, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
That makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid zero, that means zero for troops, zero for vets, zero for schools or health. And I think probably he's not all that enthusiastic about having the rest of our country see what the real reasons are, because it must be something really important, even terrible, that he's trying to hide.
And that's something you're going to hear, that little quip of his in there. It makes me smart. It doesn't make you smart, Donald Trump. It makes you a liar and a cheat and a fraud and a scumbag who doesn't care about funding the military you claim to love, about funding the country you claim to want to lead because of deep patriotism, you fatriot. Let's get to some of this New York Times reporting. Mr. Trump paid no federal income taxes in 11 of 18 years that the Times examined. In 2017, after he became president, his tax bill was only $750. Now, before I move on, let me say this. You can take this reporting to the bank, because the New York Times isn't going to go to print with this unless their legal department and their executive ranks absolutely clear this. This isn't the impetuous move of 3 reporters to just go to press with this. You don't make an accusation like this. You don't reveal details like this if they are not 100% secure. So in 2016 and 2017, billionaire Donald Trump, I'm really rich, Donald Trump, paid $750 in income taxes for those individual years. Think about what you pay in income tax. Think about the hard-working people out there. The small business owners in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, the Rust Belt, all over what people call flyover country, who fly Trump flags in their front yard out of some odd cultish devotion to him, because they believe he loves America. They believe he loves this country and her people. He does not. He cares about himself. $750 for each year for a billionaire? Even if he's not a billionaire, he's a millionaire. That is a problem. Because he's not helping to fund the country, to pay to pave the roads, to rebuild the bridges, to do all of the things that we pitch in with our tax dollars. He's shirking his duty as a patriotic American. And instead, it's all a show. It's all a game. Instead, he literally hugs the flag like a motherfucker. How does he get out of this? How will he politically be able to extricate himself from this insane story that has just began to be reported? This is the beginning. We don't even have the specific figures and details that will surely come out. He has reduced his tax bill with questionable measures, including a $72.9 million tax refund that is the subject of an audit by the Internal Revenue Service. This is by reporting losses. This is where the rubber hits the road. He claims to be a genius in business. Very successful. I'm very rich. I got a very stable genius brain. I know all the best words. I run fantastic clubs all over the world. Yet, in order to get a $73 million tax return, he's claiming massive losses at these companies and these businesses that he claims to be wildly successful. So one of two things is happening. Either he is a liar and a grifter and a scumbag who hates his country and doesn't care to fund the country to build its bridges and its roads, or he's a failure of a businessman, an idiot who can't run a golf club, and they're losing money hand over fist. There's no other option. It's one of those two things. He's either lying and cheating in a fraudulent manner on his tax returns, which is a federal crime, or he's really losing money because he's a dummy. The picture that perhaps emerges most starkly from the mountain of figures and tax schedules prepared by Mr. Trump's accountants is of a businessman president in a tightening financial vice. Most of Mr. Trump's core enterprises, from his constellation of golf courses to his conservative magnate hotel in Washington, report losing millions, if not tens of millions of dollars year after year. And within the next 4 years, more than $300 million in loans, obligations for which he is personally responsible, will come due. So he's on the hook to banks and possibly private loans that he is going to owe. And it puts these businesses, these banks, and these lenders in a very precarious position if he is to win re-election. That how are they going to default him on his loans or require that that money be paid back of a sitting United States president who owes almost $1/3 of $1 billion, personally owes $1/3 of $1 billion. That's tough. That is what we call a conflict of interest, because as president, he controls policies, banking policies, lending policies that would directly affect these businesses to whom he owes money. The financial pressure on him is increasing as hundreds of millions of dollars in loans he personally guaranteed are coming due. His revenue from The Apprentice and from licensing deals is drying up. And several years ago, he sold nearly all the stocks that now might have helped him plug holes in his struggling properties. The tax audit looms. He's not in good straits. And this is exactly why all the reasons that Hillary Clinton listed in 2016, just about 4 years ago, all of those reasons, there is a modicum of accuracy in every single one. There's a certain percentage assigned to those reasons of why he's not releasing his tax returns that add up to that 100%. Even while declaring losses, he has managed to enjoy a lavish lifestyle by taking tax deductions on what most people would consider personal expenses, including residences, aircraft, and $70,000 in hairstyling for television. That mop is costing $70,000 worth of tax deductions. If anybody's getting ripped off, maybe it's not the American people. Maybe it's Donald Trump if he's actually paying 70 grand to have that thing coiffed on top of his dome. As president, he has received more money from foreign sources and U.S. interest groups than previously known. This is also a big sticking point. I've done videos about this for years now, about the fact that he is profiting from the presidency. Now, the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution only deals with taking foreign money as president of the United States. It doesn't deal with the U.S. interest, lobbying groups, congressmen and women who host parties at the Trump resorts. But it is a massive problem, and one that we're going to have to deal with past his presidency. That he's giving away his salary, proclaiming it as a charitable, I'm sure he's taking a charitable deduction for that, because he's donating it. And people believe they take him at his word for some wild reason that he's doing it out of the kindness of his heart and not a distraction, a diversionary tactic. That look over here, I'm donating 400 grand a year while raking in millions and millions and millions on the other end. Against that backdrop, the records go much further toward revealing the actual and potential conflicts of interest created by Mr. Trump's refusal to divest himself of his business interests while in the White House. His properties have become bazaars for collecting money directly from lobbyists, foreign officials, and others seeking FaceTime, access, or favor. The records, for the first time, put precise dollar figures on those transactions. That sentence right there is huge. The records, for the first time, put precise dollar figures on those transactions. They don't give us the precise dollar figures in this article, in this reporting yesterday. That's something we're going to learn. We're going to know all about this and the dirty orbit of grifters and influence peddlers that surround Donald Trump. We're going to learn. And I think there will be a degree of even the most loyal. I mean, look, the cult members and the Q ding-dongs, they're not going anywhere. But there will be an evaporation of support off of his base of like 35%. It's going to drop. If all goes as it should in a perfect or even less than perfect world. At the Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach, Florida, a flood of new members starting in 2015 allowed him to pocket an additional $5 million a year from the business. At his Doral Golf Resort near Miami, the roofing materials manufacturer, GAF, spent at least $1.5 million in 2018, even as its industry was lobbying the Trump administration to roll back, quote-unquote, egregious federal regulations. In 2017, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association paid at least almost $400,000 to the Washington Hotel, where the group held at least one event during its 4-day World Summit in defense of persecuted Christians. This is going to be a reckoning. And among the most damning information just revealed isn't even the fact that he only paid $750 in income tax for 2016 and 2017. It's going to be good. Good for America to learn. Not good for Donald Trump. He is quaking. They immediately held this distraction news conference where he was calling on just conservative reporters until he finally had to call on one and got asked about this. A normal reporter, I mean, and who asked about this, and he just went straight to the old fake news go-to. The standby response. I would love to know what you think about this. I'd love to know if you dissent, if you think this is no big deal. I'd also love to hear from you. 714-576-4054. You can email me daily@dollemore.com. I would love to hear from you. Let's talk this out. Let's move that conversation forward. We're getting closer and closer to Election Day, and more information like this is going to become public. We have a right to know just what kind of a criminal, a felonious freak show we have as president. And it is all ready to come spelling out. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.